5'9", 165 pounds. They call him the pocket rocket. Well, we talked about what it would take to win this ball game, and we talked about special teams, big plays on special teams. Well, we tipped off a little bit because of David Palmer's success this year doing just that.
Steve Cole to kick for Alabama. 6:11 remaining in the first. 7-0 tied. Chris Hudson and Charles Johnson standing on the goal line for Colorado. Short kick. We get back to one of the deep returners is Johnson on the run back. And out to the 32 where 5 Alabama players take him out. Joe Robbie Stadium, the second Blockbuster Bowl. Number 8, Alabama, and number 15, Colorado. Our overhead shots tonight from the Goodyear Blimp, Spirit of Akron, and are courtesy of Goodyear Tires. Tonight's pilot is Captain Dick Esch from Sunrise, Florida. Heavy to the right, the Buffaloes on first down, and they send Warren out of the backfield. There's another blitz. They had to get it away quickly, and they overthrow Michael Westbrook.
Trying to set up a screen pass that time, and it was like a jailbreak. They got to slow him down a little bit longer than that. Remember, Hagan is only about 5'10".
Been about 3 jailbreaks already, Dan.
We have 127 members of the Crimson Tide dressed out this evening. There they all are.
And you memorized every single name and number.
Well, I got to about the 119th, and I gave it up because they're starting duplicating numbers on it.
Who is number 111? You're right. Okay, second down and 10. A lot of jumping around.
They're going to get Colorado for a false start here.
Dead ball, false starts on the offense, still second down.
Let's check in with Jim Gray. Jim?
All right, Jim. Bill McCartney told us yesterday that everybody in Colorado criticized him for kicking to dangerous punt return men. Well, he told us that over the past 10 years, his career in Colorado, that only 4 guys have taken punts back all the way. 3 of them are names you're going to recognize. The Rocket, Barry Sanders, now Palmer. He also said that over the past 8 years, they are +2 on the net return. So they're doing pretty well. Let's go back upstairs.
Hagan's pass is batted and falls incomplete. Yes, that punt return by the Rocket was the controversial one for McCartney, but fortunately for Colorado, it was called back because of a clipping penalty in the game's final minute. Hagan now 0 for 4 passing. He's been sacked twice.
Well, we'll see who knocked that one down. Right in here, watch as he gets his hands up. It's number 94, John Copeland. He bats this ball a long way, too.
Here's Lamont Warren running it back to the original line of scrimmage. George Teague on the tackle, and the Buffs have to punt again.
Now, this is a calculated risk by McCartney going to this new offense, but he's only had 10 days to practice it. 5 days in pads, 5 days without pads. He knew there were some kinks he had to iron out. But right now, this biggest problem is just protecting Darian Hagan. 0 for 4 start for Hagan.
And his other problem is number 2, David Palmer, who awaits another return opportunity. We'll let this one go. Very favorable downs for the Buffs. Bama will start inside of its 20. So 1 touchdown, a run back on a punt by David Palmer, and the Tide's ahead. Low productivity offensively and young teams, especially on the line. Look at the returning players on the line, offensive lines. Lewinberg for Colorado, Hammond for Bama, but the rest were all new starters.
And in talking to Lewinberg, he says he felt like an assistant coach at times this year because the guys around him were asking him, hey, what do I do? Who do I block on this play? And with Hammond, he's just a sophomore, so it's not as if he's been around a long time either.
Fort Payne at Hammond. His team breaks huddle and comes to the line at the 17. No tight end, 3 receiver set. Curtis Brown, the extra receiver, running play for Turner. Good run by Kevin Turner, senior fullback, who averages about 6 yards a pop, Dan. That's pretty impressive for your fullback.
And he picks up about 6 on this play, Jim, so he's right on his average. Actually got all the way up to 9 yards, but it's an inside run, a tough run by Turner, but that's his bread and butter. Patterns his game after a couple of great fullbacks in the NFL, Tom Rathman and Brad Muster.
We saw David Palmer come into the game and relay the play, and here on the toss, Saran Stacy with a first down carry out to the 33.
Turner and Stacy work so well in the backfield. The fake by Palmer really takes the attention of the Buck defense, but watch the block here as Turner comes down and opens up the hole, and the Tide picks up the first down. Beautiful block on the linebacker right there.
First down, Alabama. Inside they go with Turner, and he manages 2. Ted Johnson, a freshman, Vista, California, on the hit.
Turner was telling us yesterday that he's having a lot of fun opening his mail these days. When he goes to the mailbox, he sees all these letterheads from the NFL teams. He's one of the guys that expects to be drafted in the NFL because he has decent speed, but he is also an excellent receiver out of the backfield.
His 40th start at Alabama tonight. And 2nd and 8. Stacy only for about a yard. Chad Brown sought him out.
Well, this is like the way it is as you're down in the pits here, Jim. Not a lot of room there as Brown and Johnson go airborne there to bring down Saran Stacy. Short gain.
3rd down and 7. Palmer lined up to the right side. Greg Thomas, as Barker almost lost the football, but he's ruled down at the 20. Greg Thomas and Eric Hamilton, a safety blitz, and a loss of 17.
Oftentimes in a ball game, Jim, you'll see one team do what the other team's doing when the other team's having success. We've seen Alabama come with the safety blitz and sack the quarterback. Well, it's Colorado's time now as they bring both safeties. Eric Hamilton, number 6, was in the backfield as well.
Colorado has a returner who could break one. Darian Hagan. How often have you seen your quarterback running back punts?
And how often do you look forward to punt returns as much as we are this evening?
Really? Did you run back punts very often for the chair? Oh, look at this, a block. A block, and the Bucks are set at the 3-yard line. Ron Wolford came in to knock it down.
Special teams, another big play. This time it's for Colorado. As Wolford gets in there and gets his first block of the year. This is 6 blocks now. Watch Wolford get in here and just smother this ball. Lucky for Alabama, it didn't go in the end zone, but there's just nobody there for number 56. 6 times this year now the Buffaloes have blocked a kick.
That was just a missed assignment. Wolford was never touched, and Williamson never had a chance. So Colorado, first and goal from the 3. They've got Scott Phillips in the backfield, along with Lamont Warren and Michael Westbrook. And Hagan calls timeout.
Had to call timeout. The 25-second clock had almost expired.
about to ask you, did you ever run back a punt at any level of football?
No, and I never blocked one either.
Hey, Mama.
Well, let's talk about bowls coming up on CBS Tuesday. UCLA against Illinois, led by Jason Verduzco. The Illini and the Bruins. Illinois, Lou Tepper will make his debut as the Illini coach. And on January 1, Terry Bradshaw will join me for Florida State and Texas A&M. Florida State, 10-2 on the year, led by Casey Weldon against the underrated Texas A&M Aggies. That'll be a great one.
We're seeing two young teams here tonight, Jim, but that Aggie team is a young team as well.
Back to Texas A&M, when you take into account the entire top 25, they have the most underclassmen. I'm speaking of freshmen and sophomores as starters by far. They have 13 freshmen and sophomores as starters. Colorado is second with 9. Now, here we go. First and goal. Inside they go with Phillips. And he gets to the 1.
The Buffaloes have struggled mightily so far in this first quarter, Jim. But there's nothing like a big play on special teams, especially starting your drive off on the 2-yard line that will pump a little bit of life into the Buffalo offense.
Henry, Phillips, and Warren in the backfield. Again, it's Phillips straight ahead, touchdown.
Satisfied with just getting that 1 yard either, was he, Jimmy? He wanted to go all the way through that end zone, looking for red shirts to bounce off.
Needed 1. He picked up about 4. Scott Phillips, sophomore from Monument, Colorado. He had 1 touchdown on the regular season. Now the extra point from Harper to tie it, and he does indeed. Scott Phillips, who came to Colorado as an inside linebacker and then switched over to fullback.
Well, let's take a look at Ivy and Hansen right here as the play hits right up the middle to Phillips. And a nice job of the guard, Clint Moore, coming over with the seal block. And there's Phillips looking for red shirts to hit. So many options on this play to defend, but the first thing you got to do against an option offense is stop the fullback. From 1 yard out, there's no way the Tide could hold out Scott Phillips.
Scott looked like Ralphie coming through that line, coming right out of the cage. Special teams, the story in the first quarter, that's for sure. A run back for a touchdown and a block by Colorado to set up their score.
And Colorado really needed that special teams punt block by Wolford, because on offense they are still on the negative side of the column with -2 yards, and yet we've got a tie score. This is Les Steckel on the right of the screen talking to Bill McCartney. Les is calling the plays tonight, and he expects to be named the offensive coordinator very shortly. They have had a lot of success with the old offense, but McCartney wants to move into the 90s with this offense, open it up, multiple formations, a lot of substitutions, and something where he wants to do is just throw the ball.
Many will remember Steckel was the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings at the age of 38.
I know the Vikings will never forget it.
David Palmer from the goal line. 14-yard run back. Good coverage downfield. Tony Senna, a senior, makes the hit on the kick coverage. And tomorrow, wild card action on CBS. All get started at 12 noon Eastern with the NFL Today. The Cowboys back in the playoffs, and Jimmy Johnson and Mike Ditka will duel for the first time. The winner of that game will be taking on Detroit in the divisional round of the playoffs, as Atlanta's victory today over the Saints clinched the Falcons' next appearance. It'll be against Washington next Saturday. The 15, Derek Vlasic. Nice cut and a hard-earned 3 or 4 yards.
You think about that ball game coming up tomorrow, Jim, and I know the Bears, or the Bears, we're hoping for the Bear weather, but they're not going to get it. The Cowboys will come in there to Soldier Field and play in very pleasant 45-degree weather, and that has to concern the Bears. They were murdered by San Francisco the last game of the season, and the Cowboys are the hottest team in football.
Well, the most points Mike Ditka's ever allowed, seeing one of his teams allow.
I wouldn't want to have been at practice this week as a member of the Bears.
2nd and 7, and they get to Barker again, and it's Wolford, the punt blocker.
The Alabama cheer after the next play for coaches. Alabama cheer after the next play.
Watch this man right here. You think the football is a tough game here. Watch as this helmet goes flying off. It's Jeff Bruner right there in the middle, and he had help.
That's brutal for Bruner. 3rd and 12. Quarterback draw in the game plan, and that will run out the first quarter. We'll start the second with a punting situation, and that's where all the action has taken place so far in this Blockbuster Bowl, with the score after 1. Colorado 7, Alabama 7. We'll return to the Blockbuster Bowl after this message and a word. Blockbuster Bowl. Jim Nance along with Dan Fouts and Jim Gray. Andrea Joyce will be along at halftime. 7-7 our score as we start the second quarter. And again, Dan, all of the excitement so far has happened in punting situations. And here's another guy who could break one, Darian Hagan.
And wouldn't you know it, he'd love to put one in the end zone. This is about the same spot on the field that Palmer returned his for the 52-yarder.
Colorado was trying to set up a return. Short punt by Williamson, and Hagan will just let it go. So very favorable bounce for Williamson to help the stats, and backs up the Buffs to the 34-yard line. We're sideline bound right now to our man Jim Gray. Jim.
All right, Jim, the All-American center for the University of Colorado, Jay Lewinberg, is a diabetic. He injects himself twice a day with insulin. Now, he's been living with this condition for 10 years, and it really doesn't affect his football. But at halftime, he'll go in and take a little blood sample, check his blood sugar, and he'll adjust because of the stress that it can affect his diabetes. So he's got a lot to look after in this high humidity, but the trainers are not worried right now. Let's go back upstairs.
Again, without a single back, Hagan fires it over to Henry, and off the mark on that one, and Darian continues to struggle in the passing game.
And this time there's no pressure on him. He's been sacked twice, but he's still looking for his first completion. And right now you just feel that he's struggling. He's not comfortable in this offense. And that brings up a question: if he continues to struggle, will McCartney replace him with Vance Joseph?
Lamont Warren is the single running back. He'll run it, but he is trapped for a 1-yard loss. Jeremy Nunley coming in for John Copeland and making a nice play for the Tide. So they junked the iPhone tonight. It's a whole new setup offensively for Colorado, and here's a look at it, Dan.
Well, very unusual. There's 3 wide receivers, but the problem is not in where they're putting people. It's the guys up front. Those front 5 on the offensive line are not doing the job, either pass protection or run blocking.
3rd and 11. Hagan has a little more time, but he'll still scramble out of there with it and come up shy of the first at the 40.
Now that's the best play for Darian Hagan, because what this offense allows is more room for him to use his running ability. That time he had a nice gain. The unfortunate thing is he had so far to go for the first down.
Colorado punting unit hustled onto the field almost before Palmer could get into place. Look at him again with a stutter step move, but Chad Brown wrestles him down right away. 48-yard punt by Berger and a 4-yard run back with a flag.
The key to that coverage that time was the ball was about a 4.5-second hang time. McCartney feels that if he gets that type of hang time, that his players can get down underneath it, and he doesn't have to worry about a big return.
There's a clip during a run back. Penalty will be paid for us. Half the distance from the spot. First down.
Well, that will take Alabama inside of its own 10-yard line. Offensively, it's been somewhat like we expected, Dan. It's 7-7 at the start of the second quarter. We'll be right back. Gene Stallings, a man who embodies many of the traits of Bear Bryant. A Bear Bryant disciple, played for the Bear at A&M. Was an assistant for Bryant for 7 years at Alabama. Then took over the head coaching job at Texas A&M in the 60s. 12-year assistant for Tom Landry and the Cowboys, and later the head coach of the Cardinals. The last year in St. Louis and 3 years in Phoenix. First down, Alabama from the 8. Pump fake by Barker. Look out. Might have lost it. Chad Brown was there. Recovered by Alabama's Hammond. Matt Hammond fell on it. It was indeed a fumble.
Yeah, that's no place to be on the field, pump fake, and when you're on the 1-yard line, a lot of bad things can happen here. He's got to get rid of the ball on his first choice here. That fake's okay, but it's this one that gets him in trouble. When he pulls it down, time runs out. Chad Brown, number 34, is there from the blind side to knock it loose.
Chad Brown, an active first half for the junior from Pasadena. Used to sell programs at the Rose Bowl as a youngster. Toby Shields, the starting center for Alabama, being helped to the sidelines after a 6-yard loss on the last play.
George Wilson will now move over to the center position from his left guard position.
2nd and 16, Bama from the 1. Look out, that's a safety. Martin Houston is stuffed. Brian Dyatt and Ted Johnson.
They go right up the middle, Jim, and with the change in the offensive line, you see Johnson right there. He steps forward, and with help down low by Renfro. Actually, it's Brian Dyatt down there. He makes the big play, the old high and low, a 2-pointer for Colorado.
Ted Johnson, a surfer from California. Looking forward to finishing up the bowl game, going home. Says, when I get back there, I'm going to get the stick out and see if I can find some waves. Well, he's made some waves in the second quarter. A 2-point safety, 9-7 Buffaloes.
Yeah, from Southern California, just outside of San Diego. He's got the best of both worlds, doesn't he? Skiing there at Colorado this time of year, then he goes out to San Diego. That's the first Colorado safety of the year. And what the Buffaloes have been able to do with field position is what they've been unable to do with their offense. Special teams has made the plays for them, and now their defense comes up with 2 points.
That Alabama series set up by good punt coverage by Chad Brown and a penalty tacked onto it, a clipping call that backed Alabama inside of the 10. And they retreated from there.
Now the Buffalo offense should get good field position as Alabama's forced to kick from the 20.
Hank Williamson with the free kick off the side of the foot, fumbled at the 50, but fell on by Colorado.
Wild Card Showdown. Terry Bradshaw will have the X's and O's and the latest on all the NFL coaching changes tomorrow at noon Eastern on the NFL Today. The last word before kickoff.
Welcome back to the Blockbuster Bowl. Here in the stands are 70 members of the University of Nebraska football team. They're here in Miami preparing for a New Year's Bowl game against the University of Miami. Now, they were co-Big 8 champions with the University of Colorado, but I find most of you guys, Darren Williams, to be against Colorado here in the stands. Why?
The game between Nebraska and Colorado has become a big rivalry. It's no longer in the Big 8, Nebraska and Oklahoma. So now it's a big thing.
All right, Darren, you got a lot of your guys cheering here with you. Better root on Alabama. Let's go back upstairs to Jim Nantz.
I'm surprised, but Colorado does call it the Big Red game, the one against Nebraska. They circled that one a year in advance. From the 50, a short gain by James Hill, the fullback, 2 yards.
This is the 6th time now that Colorado has had a first down play in their second run. We saw graphically that they're not doing too well offensively. They have 9 points with just 3 yards.